Hey guys, well here's another update on our Super Duty Derby truck build. Hey guys, Alex here from All For Him Racing, today giving you another update on our Super Duty Derby truck build. And we are within a few days of the Derby and it is finally coming together. And I say finally because it's been a number of long nights out here just working on different things, trying to get it done. Anybody who has ever built a Derby vehicle knows that there's always those things that sneak up on you that just seem to take forever. And we've had our fair share of battling those. So let's go ahead and look under here. Again, we've got all the radiator and all that's hooked up. Carburetor's fully hooked up. We now have our fuel line ran all the way down to the fuel pump. There's one vital piece missing though, you guys may notice, and that is the headers. So headers are supposed to arrive tomorrow, and that gives us only a couple days before the Derby. And that's just cutting a lot closer than I would like, but it is what it is. And Randy from Randy's Headers and Fabrication, he's coming through for us to get those done in time. So thank you for that. We're just waiting on that final piece to be able to really fire this thing up and get it all tuned up. Gone ahead and we've cut holes in the hood where the exhaust will be. I just know based on the type of header I bought where the pipes and uprights are going to go. So I approximated I have to have two 12-inch holes for fire and just, you know, protection for the motor, so that's a good opportunity to cut some hardy holes for the pipes. So we did that. We just cut holes for the pipes, nothing for the air cleaner at this time. We may change our mind, but for now that is what I wanted to do, just because of the structure of this hood has a lot of ribbing, and I was hoping to try to keep as much of that intact as possible. You can see I kind of cut into it. However, there is still a bit of structure there, and we're not allowed to bolt anything on the hood. You know, we can't like cut and then fold it over and bolt it. That just isn't within the rules. So this is what we went ahead and did and just cut those holes. So it's very much a stock type build. For now I have the overflow tank in here. I'm not really sold on this idea just because it is plastic. It is thermally rated to be able to really get good and hot. But I don't know if it's going to be Derby hot capable. So I may pick up here in the next day at a speed shop like an inline, one of those racing fill caps, so we can just take this guy completely out of the circuit. However, you know, these systems were designed to use that for expansion of the coolant and different things, and I know that these are rated for very high temps and good pressure because that is per the application. And as an engineer, I can tell you they over-designed this to be able to do more than what would be your typical requirements. So we may just leave it, but just relocate it farther forward and do things to help it with, you know, radiant heat from the headers. Obviously we're going to try to probably do some header wrap and some other things to try to just prevent heat from just sitting underneath in the engine bay here, but we'll just take it from there. Got the other coil in here, the coolant for the coolant, and that's just going to simply be in there to protect against mud and other debris that could go flying into the radiator. So we put this in front. Not allowed to add metal or anything based on the rules, at least not that I've ever been made aware of. So going ahead and use this. We've used the standard brackets, which just have these compression fittings that kind of bolt in, and this thing kind of just sits in there. So I went ahead and used some zip ties in all four corners just to kind of help lock it in. So that way as this bends and gets pushed in or whatever else happens, hopefully this will just kind of float in with it, and these metal bands will hopefully then kind of help keep it from being able to push into the radiator. Again, using the stock radiator mounts just because due to time constraints, but we did go ahead and use some ratchet straps and wrap around there, so that way should these decide to pop loose and come loose, the radiator won't just be flopping around all over the place. It'll be somewhat located well enough, again with those ratchet straps. The bumper has not yet been bolted. We do have the holes drilled for it and everything's lined up. It's just a matter of I will have some help tomorrow, so I'm going to hold off and just do it tomorrow when I have a little bit of help. The bumper is rather heavy and it's just easier to have some help to get it into position. Also, we've gone ahead and we've welded both doors. We just got done doing the passenger door here last night. So now that is fully welded and all the way enclosed here. Just going as high as I can. I didn't get every little inch, but I think it'll be sufficient for what we're doing. Also went ahead and welded the truck bed and the cab together. There's just some unique ridges and shapes going on here, so I didn't get too carried away again with it. I feel that this will be alright, and then adding it with the 4 bolts that were allowed to bolt the bed to the cab should be holding it pretty secure. Went ahead and we've got our fuel tank strapped down and mounted. We're not allowed to get carried away with the gas tank protector, so we just kind of built, a stand to keep it up off the floor, and upgraded to some little more hardy strapping. I like this stuff because it's pretty modular and it allows you to reuse it over and over again for different vehicles. We just bought it new for this, but I could do some all thread through the floor and a bar across the top. Certainly, if that's your flavor, you can go ahead and do that. I kind of like this because with the cross pattern, if this thing decides to come loose, it still will hold it relatively in place. I mean, we've had tanks kind of come loose on us a little bit, but if it did, it was definitely in a controlled manner and it stayed put. I've seen some of these other ones where if you use all thread in a bracket, if the floor decides to bend up, well, that all thread loosens up and there goes all your strength locking that thing down. Also, been busy here. We got the washers welded onto the rear fenders and the washers welded onto the tailgate. We're allowed to weld those on the outside skins and for the wiring. We also located the tailgate lower than where it would have been stock. Since we removed the rear bumper, we dropped this down, and it's more centered up relative to the floor, and the top versus the bottom. There's about maybe a little less underneath, maybe about this much, from here to the floor, approximate, sticking out down below. So a little bit more up top, but not much. Idea being that as this thing goes in, it'll hopefully kind of fold in around that rear end and the rear frame and just kind of help lock that all together. And obviously, as time will allow, we'll be able to do other bending and things to the back here to hopefully make it a little bit stronger. But because of the rules, we're not allowed to do any major body modification, no creasing, tucking, wedging, anything like that. So it must appear basically stock. We can knock some of the metal away from the wheels, and we may still do that. But we have pretty decent clearance, so I'm not really sure exactly what I'll do there. Maybe just kind of fold the corners in a little bit, just so that way they start bending the way that I want, so when I get hit, it kind of goes the way that I want. I've gone ahead and cinched these tight with wire, so we've got that all pre-done. We're allowed to pre-do that as long as they can see all the mounting for it. So I got nothing hidden, so they should be able to see it no problem, and hopefully it will be in good shape. Again, just wired it up top and bottom. Kind of put an angle on it so that way it's a little bit higher here and then the opposite on the bottom. I think that'll just kind of help, as I cinched it, hopefully just kind of stretch this tailgate, so to speak, so that way it really locks it in where I want, so that way as this bends, hopefully it'll kind of keep following suit. I did have dual gas tanks, so we went ahead and just kind of tacked those doors on, mainly just to keep them from coming open and allow me to be able to do some painting on it to make the truck look good. Same story on this side, got it all welded up and good. And one other thing you guys might notice here is we now have our cable shifter. So we picked this up from Lamont Customs. I've got a whole video I think I filmed on this already. I'm not sure if it'll make it up before this, but you guys can check it out. Lamont Customs, look them up on Facebook. They make shifters. I believe they also make some pedals and other things. So make sure to check those guys out. I'll try to throw a link in the description here for those guys. If not, it's Lamont Customs with a Z. And so they hooked this up with a cable shifter that works for a C6 trans, and those are kind of hard to come by because not too many guys are running Fords. So he was able to hook us up, got it done for us in a pretty quick amount of time, and here we are. It's all mounted up. It's got the park lockout like a lot of them. Mounted it the way that I did because I really like the movement, being able to pull it back for reverse and move it forward for drive, and it just felt a lot more comfortable. It got a little longer arms, so it's mounted up right where it feels comfortable for me. And I used a whole bunch of foam on that bar. A few of you guys were concerned about safety for that, and I totally understand that. But we did wrap it in some pretty hardy foam here, as well as taking an old pool noodle of all things. But it worked really good for wrapping this piece, so that way, for the most part, I don't really have any metal to worry about other than maybe the handle itself. But hopefully it'll keep me from busting my knuckles up and having any issues there. Also going ahead and throwing some padding in here. We have our big foam pad that we stick in the door pretty much normally. However, it sat a little lower once I had it on the cage than really what I wanted, so I threw some more padding up higher just a little bit. It sticks up ever so slightly above, but at least now I've got plenty of padding in there to keep me safe and keep me from getting beat up too bad. So there you go, guys. There is an update on our Super Duty Derby truck. Again, within days here, only a few more days. I think we got 3 more days before the Derby. And it is time, I think officially, to start throwing some paint on this thing. So hopefully you guys like the paint job we've come up with. It's a little different than what we've done before, but I think it'll be kind of fun. It's a little more theme oriented than what we've also done in the past. So we always go for best paint at the event where this is going to run. And so we are going to still strive to hopefully be able to pick up a Best Paint Award. So stay tuned for that, guys. I'm curious to see how it comes together. Maybe I'll even change my mind mid-process. But anyways, I guess that just means you guys will have to stop in for the next update. If you like this video, make sure to give us a nice thumbs up and consider subscribing if you've not already done so. As always, we hope you guys have a great day. And until the next video, we'll talk to you later, guys.